Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are looking at the pack sales once again, and when it comes to Israel, all of their vehicles which are packs are on sale. This is because they came out a little while ago. The first one is the Spitfire LF.Mk.2D. Now, this one's an interesting one, because it's a very good vehicle, like it works alright, but the question is, do you actually want to buy it to grind out the tech tree? And I think the answer is no. It's much better to pick up the A4E, it'll be much more useful going forward. This one will only be good for rank 4, and then also rank 5. After that, it's pretty useless. One of the things that I will say I've used it for in the past, and it has been good for, is ground lineups, because Israel has a serious problem with it, and that problem is the fact that you don't get CAS until 7.7. You have the P51D20, which is nice, but it's at 4.3, so if you are playing, let's say, the 6.0 lineup, or if you're playing the 6.7 lineup, or the 7.3 lineup, or the 7.0 lineup, you don't get CAS with any of this. Like, you have to be here before you're allowed CAS. So the Weizmann's kind of fills that role because of the fact that it has access to these quite nice rockets and also bombs, so that's where I mainly used it, and also it's a LF Mark 9, so it's really maneuverable, so it can move around the place pretty well. And it does okay. Once you get to like the 6.770 mark though, it does obviously get outperformed quite aggressively. But the thing is, you have literally no other options with the with the tree the way that it is. So until they fix that, until they put some more CAS aircraft at, basically 5.0 to 7.3, there's not a lot you can really do with it. And that's one of the issues with the tech tree in general. So I wouldn't actually get this for grinding out the aviation tech tree. I would only really get this if you wanted a CAS element until 7.7 when it comes to ground forces. The M51W is also on sale. This is kind of the starter premium when it comes to the ground tech tree. It's at 6.0, so you can run it with the M51 and also the TCM20. This is not a bad vehicle. It's better than the M51 because it has a 50 cal on it. The standard M51 doesn't, which is a bit rude, but what you're going to do about it. The vehicle is obviously based off the Sherman. It is a modified Sherman, a upgraded one, I suppose you put it, post World War II. The major difference between this Sherman and the other ones is the fact that it has this 105mm M51 cannon. Now, this cannon hits like a truck sometimes, and then sometimes decides not to hit like a truck, and that's because it has access to this heat shell. Now, this heat shell pens a lot, but it does also get stuck in weird nooks and crannies when it comes to hitting vehicles. This means that you can face stuff like Tigers, Tiger 2s, and just do no damage to them, and it's incredibly annoying because of the fact that muzzle velocity isn't the best, and also just because of the fact that sometimes the heat just decides it's going to misbehave that day, and it just is annoying. I don't know why it does it, but it just does. The other thing about it is because you get this at the start of the tech tree, if you buy it, then this can actually be a good way of boosting your crew skills. One of the biggest issues when it comes to vehicles like this is the fact that when you start off tech trees, you don't really have a lot of crew skills with them. So stuff like the gun handling, especially when it comes to the M51, is terrible, and crew skills can make that a hell of a lot better. But if you start off at zero crew skills, which is what happens with a vehicle like this, then it can just feel infinitely worse. And the major reason is because this is a very heavy gun, and you can see there that targeting vertical speed, if you're wandering around and your suspension is clonking all over the place, then this gun will take a long time to settle and stabilize, meaning that a lot of people can shoot you first before you can, set yourself up. So an M51W instead of a standard M51 can mean that your crew skills are quicker to get and therefore a little bit easier on the vehicle itself. But it's just a pain to start off when it comes to the Israeli tech tree. There are other lineups which are quite nice, 7.3, 7.7, 8.0 I think it is, or 8.3, and then 9.0 is pretty good. But this one can give you a little bit of a boost to get past the rubbish. And I feel like if you are serious about the Israeli tech tree, I think something like this is a good pick just to get you through the gaff. The A4E is a pretty good pickup when it comes to Israel for a few reasons. The first reason is because pretty much the whole aviation tree for Israel is terrible. It has a lot of vehicles which are subpar and generally don't feel very nice to play. If you contrast this to the Swedish, Finnish subtech tree, they added a lot of vehicles here, which generally fit pretty well and, work well in the game. It's pretty fun to play. Whereas Israel, you have a lot of subpar vehicles for their area. The Votors, the MD450s, the late Meteors, like the late Meteors, the Tsar, the Sambad. I've spaded pretty much all of these vehicles, and the only ones which I haven't spaded are because they added stuff to them, and I will respade them once they add something to the tech tree. But this tech tree is easily the worst that I've ever played in the game. It was awful to grind through. It felt absolutely terrible. And once you got to this area, it just felt awful. The Mirage 3CJ is not bad, but you have to get through all of this stuff to be able to play it. And even after buffs to stuff like the SARS missiles and stuff, they still don't feel good. So if you're looking for a vehicle to actually grind out the decent areas of the Israeli tech tree, the Kafirs, for example, or the A4N, for example, which is very fun with the 9.3 lineup, then the A4E is a good bet. It has bombs, it has missiles, it has guided bombs, so you can use it in ground forces at 879093. It has a bunch of napalm if you want to have a bit of fun with it. There's a ton of different things that you can bring along, and also it has access to countermeasures, so you can keep yourself alive if you get, missiled or anything like that. So this is a pretty bog standard vehicle. One other thing I will note, if you do buy it or you do use this vehicle, please uninstall your boosters. I've seen a lot of people complaining about the fact that these vehicles rip in half, like when you fly them. This will mean that you rip a lot less in half. Just uninstall these. Uninstall them also on Sabres. You'll be struggling on Sabres and G91s too. Just uninstall this. It will give you a much better time going forward. You also have the Merkava Mk.2D, which is on sale. This one took quite a big nerf more recently, and that's basically just because of its BR change. This thing was at 9.0, it was in a lineup of 3 Merkavas at 9.0, and it was just super fun to play. And it'll still be really fun to play now. It's just that it's going to be a little bit harder to do, because they upped its BR to 9.3, but oh no, did they give it a better round? Well, I think they may have done. It has the M413 round, where the Galbatash has the M426. But obviously the Galbatash's round is slightly better, but the Merkava Mk.2D's round is also very good. So yeah, maybe they upped its usability there. It also has all the other things you would want, artillery, smokes, LWSLR. This thing is made of smokes, by the way. It's got 30 smoke grenade launchers and also 12 66mm ones on top of it. So you'll never run out of smokes while playing this vehicle. And also its armor is good enough. It's very hard to one-shot this thing unless you start getting into like a lot of 10.0, 10.3 battles where they have much better penetration on things. But apart from that, it works incredibly well for the general vehicle itself. It's got decent mobility for the size and heftiness that it has. It has good gun depression. It has a good reload on the 105mm as well. Overall, it's just a nice vehicle. It just kind of sucks that it got put up in BR. But if you need something to kind of grind through the whole of the tech tree for Israel, it's not a bad one. You can see here we're plus 100 with it. And by the way, this is using it as a second vehicle or a third string vehicle. Because if you have a look, we played it alongside the Mark 1B and the Mark 2B, which we used as first string vehicles. But you can see here how powerful the 9093 Merkavas can be compared to other stuff. So they were very fun to play together. It just kind of sucks that they moved it, but it will still be useful. The Macbeth is rubbish, and the Galbatash, once it's spaded, I suppose is okay, but spading it is one of the horrific experiences when it comes to the game. So the Mk.2D is really the shining light of this lineup, and you can also bring along the A4N, which is really nice, with its guided bombs, or even its Mavericks, if you want to bring them in, which is quite nice. So this will be useful going forward to grind out anything they add to Israel. So if you are looking for something longevity-wise, this is the pick. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Forge, Siegebreak, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, and also Sem Arslan, Wilkski, Uncle Bean, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.